it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I wanted to come on and share with you guys a single layer card that I did using a couple of new to me stamps. This first stamp is from Quetzal Craft. It's a French company and it's of a cloud background. And I'm using some distress markers and just coloring right onto the stamp itself. And then I'm using some Bristol paper to transfer that ink over. I'm just rubbing it there, and there you see the cloud images are kind of irregular and there's a little bit of modeling, so I think it comes out looking really very much like clouds. And there you see me putting a little scratch piece of paper over the tops because I didn't want the prior clouds to be transferred again messily. And I decide I'm gonna add just a little extra cloud in the upper left corner there. So I'm just inking up that little corner of that cloud image, and there you go. Now I am using a water brush. This is a Pentel water brush. It's very inexpensive. You can find it on Amazon. And I'm just adding some water to activate the ink from those markers. And I wanted to do pink clouds, kind of a warm summer night or dusk scene. And using a water brush makes this super easy. I don't have to keep reapplying, and I can just wipe off any ink transfer that's on the bristles. Now I'm taking a blue distress marker, and by the way, if you're interested in any of the particular colors, I'll link to my blog post where all of those are listed. And I'm just adding some ink directly from a stamping block that I've scribbled on, and I'm transferring that over underneath each of the cloud formations, and then I'm blending out to the white of the Bristol paper. So I've got it kind of darker underneath the clouds, kind of where the sky might be more shadowed, and I'm blending out to the white of the cardstock. And you see me turning the paper around just because I find it easier to paint or transfer the water from the water brush if I am, approaching the image from a certain angle. So I'm turning the paper around as needed. I'm adding more blues. This is, I think, Salty Ocean. And then I'm adding some paler blue. I think that's Tumbled Glass, just to blend out to the white. The next image is a really cute Crafter's Companion image. And I'm using Lawn Fawn dye ink because that is water safe. And I'm inking up the image and then wiping off with a chamois the extra little stars that I didn't want from the stamped image. And then I'm dabbing it off with a tissue as well because I didn't want the water from my stamped chamois to transfer accidentally onto my card front. And now I'm going to ink up the image again because I wanted a stronger, more dark image. I didn't want it to be black because I wanted this whole card front to be kind of soft, more like a children's book illustration. And now I'm going back in and actually adding a little bit of ripe persimmon because I wanted the clouds to have more of like an orangey tinge. I really wanted it to be vibrant, and adding this little extra layer of color really helped with that. And while I'm doing this, the stamped image of the little baby cub bear riding on his daddy's back is drying fully. And that's really important, even with dye inks, that you let it fully set before you add water to it or inks to it that might smear the image. Now I'm just adding those little touches of the ripe persimmon. And at this point I decide I need to connect the blue sky all around the image. So I'm taking the lightest blue, this is a Tumbled Glass, and I've smeared a little bit, just scribbled a little bit onto that stamp block, and I'm transferring over the ink with my water brush and coming right up against the image so that it looks like a continuous, picture from the little bears to the background. And this Tumbled Glass watered down is perfect for that. It connects really beautifully to the salty ocean sky. And I'm just adding more water. So it's almost to the white. Now I'm using Hickory Smoke, scribbling that onto my stamp block and picking up that color with my water brush and going into the bear. I wanted the bear to look kind of a gray color, and I'm going into all the areas that would be the darkest shadow and then blending with my water brush out. So I'm transferring the ink that's the darkest, under the belly, on the back side, legs where there's a cast shadow from the belly of the bear, on the back side of the paws, underneath that mantle or saddle, whatever you want to call it, that the little bear cub is sitting on. And I'm putting this first layer of hickory smoke all around the bear, the big bear. And then I'm going to add a second layer later, but I wanted to just get this first layer of color down. And like you saw there, I added the darkest ink to the base of the bear's neck and at where the ear meets the head. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the little bear cub. And I'm adding the color, the darkest ink to like under the little bear's arms, around its belly that's kind of tucked under those arms. And I'm heat setting it. I'm using a heat tool and I'm going to heat the back and the front so that the paper doesn't warp too much. I've cut most of that out, but I wanted to show you that that is a step that I went through. And now I'm adding some wild honey to the mantle on the bear's back, on the Papa Bear's back. And I added color where I thought there might be, ripples in the mantle and along the edges. And now I'm adding some blue kind of to repeat that blue color for the fringe on that. Next, I'm coloring up the scarf on the Papa Bear and I'm using the ripe persimmon. And I'm just following along the lines of the stamped image and also adding a little extra color under the ear and under the bear's neck. And I'm blending that out with my water brush again. Really easy watercoloring. I wanted to intensify the blue fringe, so I've added another layer of the blue ink and blended that in as well. And now I'm taking some extra hickory smoke and I'm re-establishing where the shadows are on this Papa Bear, especially under the belly, on the hind legs, on the back sides of the legs, under the mantle, all those areas I'm adding ink and then blending it out with my water brush. I'm doing the same thing for the little baby bear, under the chin, under the arms, at the base of the heads. And I'm just making sure I'm blending it out with the water brush before it kind of dries a little bit. But with watercoloring, you can kind of reactivate it. So don't get too fussed about, little edge lines. Now I'm taking some pumice stone. It's a warmer gray color. And I'm laying that in directly this time with my marker onto the paper rather than scribbling it onto my stamping block. And I'm blending this out again with my water brush. And I just did that just to save a step and because I knew I wanted to have kind of an intense color. I forgot that little area under the paw, so I wanted to make sure I put in a shadow. So I did that after the first layer. And now I'm taking the fine tip point of the vintage photo distress marker and I'm clarifying the noses and the eyes of the bears. And I'm gonna just add water just to the tips of the nose to activate the ink, but not the eyes because I didn't want the eyes to turn blurry. Now I'm taking some gold from some Gansai Tambi watercoloring. It's a blue gold, it's a very intense gold. And you see me taking my time to really apply it to the star wand that the bear cub is holding. And I really like the intensity of the pigment. I decided to add that shimmer also to the mantle of the bear just to, kind of repeat that golden color and also to add a little magic kind of shimmer to the bear mantle. I'm again intensifying that blue because the blue of that fringe is not quite as dark as the blue in the sky and I wanted them to coordinate a little bit better. So I'm blending out this third application of blue on the mantle fringe. Now I like the intensity of that blue and it kind of pops. Lastly, I'm adding some shimmer lines with a light gold. I've added that really simply all around, emanating from that star wand. And I like how that adds a little light shimmer. And I'm just turning the card front around and around so that I can have the point of my water brush that has the ink toward the star and brushing out away from that center. And look, in the right light, that shimmer is really fantastic. I love that extra oomph that gives this whole card front. And here are a couple of shots of the finished card. I just put it on a shimmery blue cardstock card base, and that's it for this single layer watercolored card. I hope you've enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day.